Indulekha Aravind. Memory is tricky, selective, unreliable, and absolutely essential to who we are. This session is about turning that slippery material into narrative. Love Bhargava has lived many public lives as politician, social activist, festival organizer, and actor, and is the author of the memoir, A Life Less Extraordinary. Rani Neutill is the author of Do You Know How Lucky You Are? And co-editor of Bhaktan Remixed, a critical BTS reader, teaching literature and writing at institutions including Harvard.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for either postponing your lunch or finishing it early to be here with us today. We have with us here 3 authors who've taken the risk of writing their memoirs. And I use the word risk very deliberately because it can be tricky territory. And these are also their debut works, so congratulations to all of you for bringing these works out. It's wonderful to have you here with us today.
Thank you.
I think I wrote this book mainly, I felt compelled to. If you read it, the first scene is me finding my mother, and it was almost like something took over and I had to write it. Like I wrote that initial scene of finding her that night. And I guess later, thinking about it, I realized that the reason why I was writing it was to understand my mother, who was a very complicated figure. That my family was very complicated, and
I want you to add to your reasons also the Bangalore Lit Fest connection, because that's a big factor in how your book came to be.
Yes. Like I always, even now I say I don't call myself an author. I always say like I'm a reader first. So I never thought in my wildest dream that I would one day write a book. So when I started writing short stories after my dad passed away in 2018, like my journey of writing started on a train, Alleppey Express, when I was traveling from Chennai. When my friend suggested, there was no looking back. I just sat and wrote this book. The whole book I wrote within 2.5 months. And so I could pour out all the railway stories from my heart. And I realized like I haven't lived a great life as such to write a memoir. So what I did was I collected anecdotes of my colleagues and batchmates as well.
ELF can make your literary dreams come true as well. Love, what about you? You've lived a very full life and now you have the author tag attached to it. What made you embark on this path?
Yes, you're so right, Indulekha, because I never thought that I would be writing a book. My life basically revolved around films, movies, Bollywood, and politics. And, sometimes destiny has planned something else for you, and which you're never aware of. I've written a bit about destiny, sitting outside the Apollo Hospital in Delhi for 25 days, and knowing that she is not going to survive, and knowing that she is not going to survive was not easy. And so that is what compelled me to write. And there are 2 things that happened post her passing. One was, of course, that I thought of writing the book. The other was that I started a foundation for poor women. And that was also pretty successful. I'm grateful to God for that. So there are many anecdotes, many incidents in my book. I would request the readers to pick that book up. I can tell you one thing. The reviews, of course, have been good. But what I've been told is that it's unputdownable. So that's a great compliment, that you pick it up and you cannot leave it. So that's all I want to say about my book and my writing and what compelled me to write. Because I'm speaking the truth. Because I'm speaking the truth. And as Mr. Tharoor has said in his foreword that he has written for my book, that it's the most authentic thing that one could read. And after that, and besides that, let me be frank enough to say that every episode, every incident, every anecdote that's mentioned in my book has a witness to it.
So it seemed like if I was going to tell this story, that I should show the ugly parts of me as much as I showed the ugly parts of my mother. After all, I'm her daughter. So no, it never felt like a conflict. It felt very easy. It can be an ugly person because I think a lot of people can. Yeah.
And just to kind of extend that, because in books like these, there's always the victim versus the villain narrative, right?
Just come off as a villain. I thought that was the most important thing to me. It was, she did bad things, I did bad things, but you know, I think the political
I
context.
think now you do a small mistake also, they'll be ready to put it on social media and tarnish your name. So yeah, life was much better then. I'm quite happy now, like I'm getting a lot of time to sit and read and write. So I don't want to go back and work.
Very relevant question, because there are people who plan on writing a book and they make notes or they keep a diary and they keep on whatever they can remember, whatever they can recollect, they make a note even if they have to wake up in the night. Even if they have to wake up in the night, they will and make a note of what they remember. In my case, it was very different. You see,
The friends that are in it, and you know, I made sure to say, does this line up with what you believe happened? And I interviewed actually a couple of them. But what was it like? So the book took 10 years to write and find a home. It was a slow process. I, like you, was not a writer, and so when I started writing it, I was so. If you guys are gonna go look at it in the bookstore, just it's a very beautiful cover. So I feel happy that it found a home, because I really do think that a woman who might have had a difficult mother or feels that motherhood is something complex and not easy, and that there are these rules that have to be abided by, that they might find meaning in it. I think the other thing that was really important to me, I teach in the US and I have Asian American students, I teach Asian American literature, was that most of my students talk about how mental illness isn't spoken about within their communities, so their mothers don't want to talk about it or their fathers don't want to talk about it, and yet they suffer from some sort of, you know, mental unrest. And that was the important part, was so much of my family kept different facets of mental health complexity or illness secret, right? It was very much hidden in the corners of the house as opposed to being talked about, which might have been a better way of handling it, obviously. So I wrote the book, I think in some ways for people like that want to be able to talk about mental health, and particularly amongst women, yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that we have these books coming out which challenge these preconceived notions. We were chatting about it earlier, right? The mother-daughter relationship, and of course, mental health challenges as well. Sangeetha, when you were working, you joined very young, right? After school, right?
Yeah.
After high school. And so you were a young woman, you were in the railways. So during the early years, you've written about various unique obstacles you've faced. One is a common one that I think every woman here would identify, which is the lack of a good bathroom, a clean bathroom, or even a separate bathroom. Could you share a couple of, anecdotes in which you're,
Before that, I want to actually, I told you to carry the book. Like, I gave you a tip.
Okay, Sangeetha's
You're not following it.
Sangeetha's been giving Rani tips.
Yes. Yeah, I've been giving her a tip. Like, you are, yes. Yeah. Mine is also pretty, yes.
I'm sorry, I'm not carrying one, I forgot.
I will attest
You
to the
didn't meet
fact
me
that your
earlier. I
cover
would have
is
given
also
you
good.
that tip. So yeah, the bathroom breaks are the most difficult thing. Like when I was working in railways, I was just 20 and I was working in a place where I was the only single lady employee. So it was fun in a way, like I was the queen of the kingdom, so that was fun. But coming to the bathroom breaks, like we had a bathroom somewhere in the end of the platform. Like your booking counter will be in one side of the platform and you have to walk all the way to the other end of the platform to take a leak. And the bathroom keys will be with the station master. So first hurdle you have to cross is you have to tell the person in front of the queue, the passenger in the queue, you have to just tell him, I want to take a leak. First we just tell him, I just want to take a break. Then those fellows will shout at us, why don't you do all that in the house and come? Why are you wasting our time? Our time is more important. So I'll have to politely tell him, sir, I have to take a leak. So first get that person's permission, then go to the station master's room. I have to tell them that I want to take the key and go to the washroom. So, and you can imagine the looks of those men. Like they will as if they are imagining you doing the thing. So that is how they look at you, and then you have to go all the way to the washroom, finish your job, and then come back. And I have to tell you that we had this weird bucket. Like we had to put in our money and buy those buckets, okay? And within a month's time, the buckets would be broken. I don't know who was so angry over those buckets. I even now vividly remember it was a green color bucket, and the bucket was completely cracked. The water will never stay in the bucket, and even the mug was a broken mug, so you'll have to go use all those things. And I never knew that tissues existed. I never knew there were separate bathrooms for men and women when I was working in railways. All those things I learned when I left my job and went to Dubai. Until then, I didn't know all these things existed. So yeah, bathroom difficulties was too much. And even in counters, we used to have these breakfast and breakfast breaks. In every counter, it would be written like 15 minutes of breakfast time. And in that particular time, if you go also, these passengers will shout at you like, why can't you do this at home and come? So as if we are supposed to do everything at home. Even breathing, I think they'll do it at home and come. So it was difficult, but it was fun as well. Like looking back, it was fun. While working, maybe I would have had difficulties, but I am a sort of person who likes to take pleasure in whatever happens. Like whatever life throws at you, just go along with it. I want to tell you one thing, like having worked in railways for 14 years, even now I look at stations and think about stations in the railway codes. I cannot think of Bangalore as Bangalore. It is always SBC for me. And Palakkad is PGT. Trivandrum is TVC. Yeah. Like, even though I don't work in railways anymore, that railway thing is, it is inside me. I even used to remember a lot of train numbers for a long time, but now my brain is not working as good. Yes. What
I think you also know about the experience of being a young woman in the railways. I think you also organized a couple of Women's Day celebrations, which are very
Yeah, like this was in 1996. I was 20 years old. I hadn't heard of what was a Women's Day, so a TT came to my station and he was just taking flowers from the platform, and he just told me Happy Women's Day. I said, what is it? What is it? But before wishing me that, he came and asked me, hey girl, call your father. So we were so young and so, I mean, even now short, but then I was very thin also. So people thought I was somebody's kid and just loitering around in the station. So first he came and told me, call your father for the writing out the chits. Then I said, no, I am the clerk. Then he just gave me those flowers and he said, Happy Women's Day. So I remember Charles was a TTE. His name was Charles. So in 1996, he was the first, not 96, 97, he was the first one who wished me Happy Women's Day. So after that, cut 2 years later, I was in Chennai, and Chennai was just a drop in the ocean. There were so many women, and nobody even cared to look at me. Okay, so that was those days, and it so happened like Women's Day, I wanted to pay it forward, sort of thing. I managed, like we were about 5 women in a station and 4 men. I begged all the men to take up the shifts and managed to get leave for the other women. We all went for a movie and a lunch, and we all bought saris of the same design and different colors. And the funny thing is, after leaving railways, after so many years, I met a colleague of mine who told me, like, the one person with whom I did this Women's Day, until her retirement, and she died soon after retirement, that was the most high point in her career. She used to always say, like, Sangeetha did this for us. Like, that was the best Women's Day we ever celebrated. So some small kindness which I received it from Charles, TTE Charles, and I paid it forward. Again, what was the question?
No, I love that you've given voices and names to so many characters in your book, and her book has many such heartwarming incidents. Love, your book also has many incidents, and you've met, I'm not understating when I say that there are a lot of celebrities in his book, but if you could share with us your encounter with Dawood Ibrahim.
Oh, God. Well, I was in Dubai. I was in Sharjah for a cricket match. I think this was in 89 or so, if I'm right, or 87 or 89. I was invited to this cricket match there by Sheikh Bukhatir in Sharjah, which is close to Dubai, twin cities. And I was at the stadium watching the match, and suddenly I wanted to go for a leak. And I came back. I'm using the term because I think it's already done now, so I can say. So when I went back to the alley, I saw Daud with his cronies, all, you know, Uzi-toting gunmen, about 15, 20 of them, just walk up to me. And so I just stood there, you know, frozen. He tells me, Bhai, Hamza, I want to talk to you about something. So I had no option. I said, please do. He said, well, India is my country and I want to be back in India. Now, before this, let me tell you that I was in this stand, which was Abdul Bukhatir's stand, Abdul Rahman Bukhatir's, and the one next to it was Dawood Ibrahim's stand, nearly as large as Bukhatir's stand, who was the president of the CBSE. So he had, you know, Dawood was there in Dubai at that time. He was being feted and he was being looked after and taken care of by Sheikh Mohammed and all the sheikhs there. That's what I was told. But this is pre the Bombay blast. This is not after Bombay blast. After Bombay blast, there would have been no question because he was a proclaimed terrorist after that. So he wanted to surrender to the Indian government. So I told him, why don't you come to India? And he says, no, if I come to India, I will be shot in an encounter by the Bombay police. What I would like you to do is to please try and get my surrender to the Prime Minister's office. I know that you have some proximity with Rajiv Gandhi, and if you want, you can get this done. Anyway, I told him that I'll try my best to see whatever I can do for you. And he said that, wo mera watan hai, that's my country, I want to be back. And incidentally, he had this huge big flag, 80 feet by 40 feet or something, hanging on the parapet wall of his stand. It was an Indian flag, not Pakistani. So I said this to Arnab Goswami on Times Now show some 10 years ago. And he said, but you believe all that what he said to you?
I don't think that would have endured you to
Yes, you know.
Arnab.
So I said, no, I do believe what he was saying. He said it with all sincerity.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that was a different time, right?
It was a different time, yes. He was a big mafia don, but he was not a terrorist then. So I was treating him like a don. In my political life, I have had a lot of dons from the state of UP approach me for something or the other. But then it's a different thing, you know. They want their work done, their child's admission or something, and they feel that you are influential enough to. But this was a different level altogether, you know, wanting a surrender to be monitored by Rajiv Gandhi's office. But that you would read in the book. There are many such interesting episodes.
Yes, you'll have to read the book to read the rest of it. Memoirs are, you know, as much as it is about the stories that we tell, it's also about what we choose to leave out. And Sangeetha very tantalizingly talks about her elopement and many other romances in the book, but she doesn't go beyond that. So Sangeetha, I'm using this stage to my advantage to ask, you know, tell us about the elopement and why didn't you write about it?
Yeah. I mean, everything else in the book was not a conscious decision. Only this was something which I consciously avoided talking about because it's been 25 years after my elopement, and even now my mom doesn't leave any chance to taunt me about it, and you know how mothers are. So I was very sure that she's going to read my book. I don't want to traumatize her more with writing about it, but of course I am going to write about this in my next book. Wait for it. You'll get to know more about the man I eloped with.
This is like a Netflix episode, Sangeetha.
Yeah, I am into full-on marketing mode, okay? So, yes, wait for my second book. My next book, I mean, I've actually submitted my manuscript. My next book is actually a war veteran's biography. He was a war veteran helicopter pilot in the 1971 India-Bangladesh war. I met him in Scotland, and I've written about his biography. Like, he's 84 and such a sharp and charismatic man. Like, oh my God, I'm in friends with him and all his friends, all the air commodores of Air Force. And I had a lovely time writing that book. And after that, my next book, what I'm planning to write is, like, in this book, I'm taking the readers to the other side of railways. Like, after railways, my life has been in the Middle East. So I want to take readers to the other side of Middle East life. Like, you would have seen and heard and movies which talk about the employees and the most difficult parts in UAE. I mean, Middle East life is not all bad. It's not just glamour alone. It's a mix of everything. So I just want to take the readers to the other side of the Middle East life. And so after railways, I left my job because my husband found a job in Dubai, so I went behind with him to Dubai. So that book will have lots and lots of the tantalizing romance and the elopement
Fine,
part.
fine, Sangeetha. We'll wait for it. We have just about 35 seconds. If there's like one question that anyone wants to ask, there's someone there.
So, hi, my question is aimed at Rani. Rani, you wrote a very sensitive, subject about a mother wound that you had, and not everyone understands it. It's very isolating when you have a mother wound. How did you deal with those emotions while writing about it?
Oh, I mean, I have to say, I wrote it when I was in a good place. I have a very wonderful partner. At the end, well, I don't want to ruin it, but yeah, I think being in a different place. I think also post her death, it was different, to write about something once somebody's gone. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So those two things together, and we don't have any time, so I feel bad. But thank you for asking the question.
Thank you so much, everyone,
you.
for being here.
Thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you to my panelists.
And thank you.
Thank you, Indulekha. Thank you, Rani. Thank you, Sangeetha. Thank you, Love, for that very personal and memorable conversation.